David asked me last year if I wanted to join him on a boat trip to the south of France, of course I said, oui. But a few days before our planned departure, I flew back from Zimbabwe with the worst case of what I can only assume must have been cholera or dysentery, and I was in no fit state to be getting on another plane, so reluctantly I told David that I wouldn't be able to join him for the trip. Instead, I took to my bed and just wailed for the next few days. I think the FOMO might have been worse than the trots. David and Sally were sending me so many photos of them and the boat baking in the sunshine, and I was so desperate to join them. On Monday, after being sick for 2 weeks, I finally turned a corner and thought that I might be coming out the other end of this near-death experience. So I hopped on Skyscanner, booked myself a super cheap flight and made my way to Béziers. I arrived at the boat in time for a late dinner and for the start of a horrendous storm.
That works.
The next morning wasn't much brighter. We got on with some chores before starting the day's cruise. We might be here a little while. Right, well we're gonna leave him to do that and we're gonna go shopping. There was a huge cemetery in the village, but unfortunately it was closed, so we headed to the shops to stock up on essentials and stretch our legs before getting underway.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Bon, très bon. It's capstang or something.
Yeah. I'm sure we're butchering that, but we are leaving Capstang. We're on the Canal du Midi and we are about to go through the most narrow bridge on the whole canal.
Right, out of Capstang. Capstan.
From Capstang, we were headed west on the canal towards Carcassonne, although our final destination was a few kilometres before there, unfortunately. Our boat, Mystique, handled quite differently from any boat I've ever steered previously, and it took a while to get used to the steering and to feel comfortable. I didn't know anything about this region or the canal before I arrived, but the landscape was a lot different from what I had expected. Along the canal they planted a lot of these young trees because they've lost a lot of the older ones to disease. And everywhere you looked there were vineyards. Although I'd got to grips with the basics of boat handling, I wasn't feeling ready yet for navigating tight bridges or other manoeuvres. There was so much more variety of boats using the Canal du Midi than you'd ever see on the British system. There were lots of barges like this one being used as liveaboard holiday vessels. I've always wanted to do a river cruise on the Nile or the Danube, but I'd never considered doing one on a canal before, but I actually think it would be great fun. A narrowboat! Oh my god! We would see a few narrowboats on the trip, and I got just as excited each time. After a couple of hours cruising, we moored the boat up in these trees because we'd seen a sign for a cafe. It was the funkiest little place I've ever seen, and they had a dog.
Oh, how marvellous.
What's that? What you got? What you got? Unfortunately, we eventually had to say goodbye to the puppy and get back on our way. Le Boat, who are the company providing this holiday for us, offer cycle hire, but I think they should rent out dogs for the week too. I don't mind it, but I also find it very strange that on mainland Europe the roads are so close to the canals. That would be very uncommon in England. There's a little branch line down there past that swing bridge. We've come into Le Samal, which apparently was voted the prettiest place on the whole canal, and it's easy to see why.
Oh, they're miles away.
Oh,
What are you making me honk for? They're miles away.
but then there's boats either side and... Oh, they've got an ice cream
Where they have
thingy thing.
this thing.
Oh, he's going in.
This green barge on the right is a shop, and Sally was desperate to have a look around, so we had to find somewhere to stop.
Oh, someone else is coming out. Oh God, it's the Piccadilly Circus.
Right, you're going to have to be ready to jump off with ropes rather than filming, I'm afraid.
I'm going.
How cute is this car? I want to buy one and convert it into a camper. Unfortunately, the shop didn't have anything we were really looking for, so we hopped back on Mystique and continued on our way. I was so happy to be feeling better, and although it was still a bit breezy, the sun was out and I was ready to relax. Until a sudden gust of wind blew up our canopy from its straps, and suddenly Mystique was doing a very good impression of a sailing boat. It meant David had no visibility for steering, so of course I did what any helpful friend would do and filmed the whole thing whilst giggling uncontrollably. With canopy secured, no thanks to me, I reflected on the weather.
I suppose the fact that they have a wind farm should tell us something.
A few minutes after Canopy Gate, it seemed Mystique wasn't done playing games with us.
Maybe water's got into the system.
How bizarre. No.
The speakers were making the most bizarre noise, and the only way to make them stop was to turn off the fuse and leave it switched off.
Yes. Oh my God. I wouldn't have the balls to do that on my own boat at that speed.
If I remember correctly, that day the wind was about 15 miles per hour with gusts in the high 20s. It wasn't filling me with much confidence that the next 2 days were meant to be even windier. That's the risk you take with these sorts of holidays, or even when you own a boat, but at least on your own boat you can usually choose not to move. I wonder what would happen on a hire holiday if the conditions made it unsafe to move and you don't make it back to the base on time.
Lots of nice space here.
After an exciting day's cruising, it was time to find somewhere to stop for the night, and the little village of Roubière was just right.
So here we are on our summer holidays, wrapped up in our duvets, and David's got the kettle on making a cup of tea.
Join us next time as the holiday continues.